Distinguished participants to the Civil Society Seminar, I have been asked to record an interview of how the Embassy of Finland in Addis Abeba supports the local civil society and what kind of challenges there are. So I shall talk about civil society broadly. The classifications here include, for instance, charities that are organizations that help others, societies that pursue causes of their members. Non-state actors would be a broader category, also including, for instance, political parties, cooperatives, and so on. And in size, the range of non-governmental organizations ranges from big international non-governmental organizations to local community-based organizations. I'll try to talk about all of them. Our embassy supports civil society mainly through using local cooperation funds, arranging annual meetings, as part of government-to-government cooperation, and as part of diplomacy and political work. Our particular profile has been to support organizations of people with disabilities. With local cooperation funds that are used in many Finnish embassies, our particular profile is not to have a big budget, rather on the contrary. We have limited the number of projects we support every year to about 10. But we want to give them quality support. It is not only our local cooperation coordinator who manages these projects, but about 6 to 8 people among us, the whole development cooperation team, myself, our political officer. We assess the project proposals as a team and also send different people among us to monitor these projects. We have wanted that all of us understand the role of civil society in this country. We arrange annual meetings for civil society. The core group is Finnish non-governmental organizations working in Ethiopia, and then former, present, and maybe future beneficiaries of the local cooperation fund. We have been quite flexible as to the participants. There are about 50 participants each time. So the organizations exchange experiences between themselves. We have tried to get the regulator, Charities and Societies Agency, to come by visiting them in advance, but frankly we have succeeded only once so far, but we still make efforts. And then we have talked about some challenging thematic issues, like last time we talked about the human rights-based approach to development, which is part of Finnish development policy, but the organizations were not quite sure how possible it is to implement it also in Ethiopia. So through discussions it became clearer that in fact it is a cooperative approach which is based on the commitments Ethiopia herself has made. Within government-to-government cooperation, the civil society that benefits from these programs is often organized in different ways. For instance, in water programs, water supply programs, communities have always participated in constructing the water points, in taking care of them after the building. But increasingly they also manage the projects themselves, tender among big contractors and so on. And meaning is that after getting these capacities, they would be able also to implement other development projects in their communities, if they so wish. We also support primary education as part of a big sector program. And their parent-teacher associations are quite important end users in requesting the schools to tell how the school grants for these schools have been used for the benefit of the pupils, their children. And in fact, parent-teacher associations are increasingly being involved in taking part already in the decision-making. In addition to distributing funds, political work is naturally important in supporting civil society, diplomacy, and other political discussions with the various political organizations. Our embassy is not only the representative of Finland towards the government, but towards the whole Ethiopian society. So we also engage with other parties than the ruling party, opposition parties particularly, the biggest ones. Within following human rights, the professional human rights organizations are very important in providing assessments of the situation. As I said, this embassy has particularly focused on supporting the organizations of people with disabilities. This profile is already several decades old. It started with the Finnish NGOs having this profile, for instance, training most of the teachers for the deaf. But also in Finland, organizations of people with disabilities have taken outreach and diplomacy as their work and supported directly these organizations in Ethiopia. So increasingly we have also taken other ways of supporting this cause. For instance, we are supporting African Union in developing its disability agenda. Challenges. In many countries nowadays, governments are questioning civil society and they are suspicious of how it functions. They often may think that the civil society is bringing a foreign agenda to their internal political discussion, particularly if bigger international NGOs are opposing some of the major investments of the governments, for instance, due to environmental issues. In Ethiopia also, for different reasons, the government established a Charities and Societies Proclamation in the year 2009. The main restricting formulas were percentages. One is called 1090, and it simply means that advocacy can be carried out only by organizations established by Ethiopian nationals, and they can only accept at most 10% of their budget from abroad. The other 30 to 70 formula means that only 30% at maximum of their budget can be used for administrative expenses. The rest must be used for the real work, program expenses. In a way, this sounds fine for us. We don't want high administrative overheads either, but here administration is defined more broadly than in Finland. For instance, training, evaluations, and so on are counted as administration. So the organizations have felt that they don't have sufficient possibilities to provide good quality, well-planned work, and they have to engage too much to service delivery. The impact of this proclamation in terms of numbers has been that the registered NGOs, their number has reduced somewhat during the 5 years of operation of this proclamation. But in fact, the number of operational NGOs has increased. So it seems it is still possible to finance, support Ethiopian NGOs also by foreign funding, but it should be more and more used for service delivery. Another theme I would like to mention as a challenge for our embassy is that when we choose organizations that we finance, we often have to choose quite professional ones, more the charities than the societies. People who have a quite good education to carry out our high standards for project planning, accounting, reporting and so on. But in our political work, in fact, we would favor civil society that is pursuing its, the causes of their members. So, in fact, I would hope that it would be possible to see development more and more as social and political development, and less as technical enterprises, technical development. And we would find, I hope we would find ways to support even the maybe less professional NGOs, but who really have causes that they want to pursue in this society. I wish you a very fruitful seminar and good discussions. Thank you for this opportunity.